Rogue Radio. Now available on Mixcloud at mixcloud.com/Rogue Country. Keep it rogue.
Hey guys, today's podcast is always brought to you by Rogue Country and Rogue Radio. There's such a fucking good, support group, place to find new artists, radio show, featured artists, YouTube videos, and it's a great place. If you love roots music, you have to be part of Rogue Country and listen to Rogue Radio. They're so great. Today we are also brought to you by Podbean's affiliate program. They emailed me and I managed to get part of this thing where if you would like to set up your own podcast, because you can't have too many, everyone's voice should be heard, and if you have opinions and ideas and creativity, you should be able to express it. So if you head over to podbean.com/intothevan, you can go through, and if you sign up with that link, you get 1 month free to set up your podcast, start hosting, and start doing your own thing. Today's podcast is also always brought to you by me and my record, The Next Life. I'm super fucking proud of this record. I've told you a million times, and it's just something that I keep harping on about because, one, we're in a lockdown, so I can't really promote anything else. I can't tour. I can't really gig. So, the record that I brought out in August is the hill I'm dying on until the foreseeable future. And I'm happy with that. That's the record I poured everything into. I'm super proud of it. And, it's 9 tracks that took me, 5 years to write. And you don't realize for your debut album, that's a lot of ideas and touring and gigging and bad shows and good shows and heartache that go into this funnel and filter. And that's your first record. And that first record for me is The Next Life. So I'm going to drop a preview in now.
As the fire dies and we say our goodbyes, I hear the ghost of me say, all the battles we lost and the wars that we won go on to define us someday. We'll let the summer pass and move on at last to the seasons that make us age. But at least I will know that the older we grow, in the chapters we share the same page.
And if you want to listen to the full thing, you can go to my Bandcamp. You can go to mike333west.com. You can get a digital copy. We've got white vinyl. We've got a gatefold LP, which is just fucking gorgeous. We've got CD. And yeah, it's also on all streaming services as well. So it's entirely up to you. I don't care where you listen to it, as long as you do. And I hope you guys are doing well. I've had a weird week. I got the COVID vaccine. I'm recording on the 27th of January today. And I got the vaccine last Thursday. And it put me on my ass Friday. And then Saturday I was kind of recovering and I was editing podcasts. And I started editing this. And I went to sleep instead because it fucked me up for a while. So I hope you're staying out there and you're staying healthy. And if you are getting the vaccine, you're taking the time to chill. Take some paracetamol. Put your feet up. Don't be doing anything too strenuous. I really hope you're taking care of yourself. And that kind of leads me on to today's podcast. It is with Charlie Marie, who's a phenomenal country singer from Providence, Rhode Island in the States. And this is a really open and honest conversation that I really enjoyed, and it hit a new depth, I think, for this podcast. And it's all thanks to, Charlie's openness and honesty and talking about things. And I'm a huge fan of her. I love her EPs. I can't wait to see what she does with this new record. And this was a really fun chat to talk about songwriting, in the actual, down in the trenches, writing it, but also, the more existential reasons behind songwriting. And I think this is a really fucking fun talk, and I really hope you enjoy it. So without further ado, this is episode 24 of Into the Van with Mike West and Charlie Marie. Welcome to Into the Van with me, Mike West. Cool. So we're rolling now. Thanks so much for joining me. And are you currently based? I know you grew up in Providence, Rhode Island. Are you still based around there now?
Yeah, so I still live in Rhode Island. I lived in Nashville for about 6 years, like a while back, but I moved home probably around 5 years ago. And have just been based in New England.
Oh, cool. And with like your background, because I don't really know Providence because that's where H.P. Lovecraft it was from.
Okay.
I remember being a fan of his when I was younger. What was kind of your like background? Because I know you song countryside. It's like everywhere has that kind of, vibe and scene. But what was your influences growing up?
So growing up, I was introduced to Patsy Cline. She was like the first country artist that I got really interested in. My grandmother basically took me to the Strawberries, which was like a local CD store, and like we purchased the Patsy Cline CD, and so that's where my love for country music started. But then also when I was younger, my sister and we would go horseback riding, and like when we would drive to the barn, we would always listen to country music then also. So I feel like just as a child, just listening to country music is how I really got into it. And it was always different because I remember in school, like everyone thought it was weird because I listened to country music, but I don't know. I just really enjoyed it. And it was just different. I feel like it taught you about life in a sense. It didn't just show the positive things about life, but it also showed you the pain. And I guess that's kind of like one of the reasons why I really like country music.
Oh, cool. And like, did you gravitate to any other styles? Because it seems to be a lot of people like grow up on country music and then step away from it for a bit. I know there seems to be like a trend, like myself included, of, rock or metal artists who had that kind of metal period in their teens or early 20s and then kind of shifted back to country as it is a more open and honest way of like storytelling and songwriting.
Yeah, so for me, like I always kind of stuck with country, but like I grew up listening to like, light rock. Like Bob Seger was my mom's favorite artist. So like as a child, like she burned out the greatest hits like tape, like the cassette. Like she would just play that all the time. And like I grew up listening to the Eagles as well. But for me, I definitely felt myself drifting to actually pop country. So like when I moved to Nashville, I wanted to be on the radio, and so like I just was focusing on writing songs again to like help me be like a radio star. And then in chasing that, I realized that wasn't something I actually wanted to do. It was just me trying to like fit in. And so then that's when I like went back to the classic country roots, because that's when I realized that's what I really wanted to do, that I didn't want to just be like everybody else.
That makes sense. And I think it's important to like when you see like you held up like a mirror of yourself and you're in the middle of something that you kind of like catches you off guard and you realize that wasn't what you were happy doing and stuff. Was there a particular moment when you were in Nashville? Was it like a certain song you were writing, or was it just a certain vibe you got there? You realized that it wasn't fulfilling you in an artistic way?
Well, I think the thing is when you write songs, especially in Nashville, you usually co-write, and there's like a couple songs that you write that you like feel like are special and resonate with some sort of truth. And so that's for me what made me realize that I wanted to continue to write songs like that. And so for me, again, it always gravitates towards like a classical or a more classic sound for me. But when I actually I wrote 40 Miles from Memphis with Cindy Morgan, and I feel like when I had that session, like kind of an epiphany went off in my head, and I felt like that's where I wanted my sound to continue to gravitate towards that sound. But yeah, I guess again, it's just, for me, it's just been basically about taking opportunities that have been presented to me and trying to get as much as I can out of them. So like that that writing session, I remember, like, you know, any session that you go into, you never know which one's going to be the session. So like, yeah, you can turn down co-writes. I've turned them down. People have turned down co-writes with me, but like, you just never know what's going to happen. And that one day I feel like was a turning point for me. And so, yeah, like, just again, like, just taking chances and continuously opening doors and not knowing what's behind them has kind of been my approach. And I've just been following the journey. Like, I try to be strategic and I try to have goals, but you know, like, a lot of times that doesn't end up working out. Life shows me where I need to go.
Yeah, definitely. There's like a Public Enemy album where it's like, man plans, God laughs. And I always kind of think that that's the most appropriate thing in the world. Is just, it's all random. And if you can kind of just guide the way you're falling, then you'll do all right, I guess. Yeah.
And that's kind of what I've been like realizing too. Like, you know, the whole time I've been trying to like chase this dream of, you know, like, continuously putting out music. It feels good. And that's the thing, like, so I am putting out a record in May.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, so May 7th is when that's going to be released, and I have like a couple of singles coming out. So I have a single coming out in February at the end of the month. But that like really helped me. It kind of saved me in a sense, because like I didn't foresee any of, you know, the times, and just having that record to listen to for me to listen to during this period has been very helpful. But it's just very interesting how it all happened now, like how everything always falls into place, and it's just really interesting and ironic. But I don't know if I answered your question. I might have went off and went around some curves, so sorry if I did that.
No, that's the best thing. That's what I really wanted to do with podcasts. I don't know if, like, because I'm a musician as well, where I have like radio interviews and, you know, magazines where it's just kind of snippets. But the thing that I love about this podcast is you can go off on tangents and you can just kind of like, you know, go all around the houses for an answer. And that's the best thing about that. So please feel free to just keep elaborating on any answers you want.
Okay, cool.
But with where you are now, is there a country scene there, or do you have to travel through the state or to get to gigs or things? What's it kind of like where you are now?
So right now, like, there really isn't any live music at all in New England. So I've heard that there's like live music now in the South. So yeah, I don't know. I'm thinking when the record's around the time of the record release, like, I think I'm probably just going to start working on like getting some shows together and try to get like a tour together, because that's the other thing. It's like, I don't really want to wait around anymore. Like, everybody's been waiting around, and it's like, I just want to kind of start playing live shows again. So yeah, if that's what they're doing down south, I probably should go down south and start doing it. Because yeah, in New England, I just think it's just been different. And I think live music is important in New England, but I think it's more of a staple in other states.
Yeah. And pre-COVID, was there a country scene or a roots scene where you are?
There's kind of more of a blues scene in Boston. There are some places though that, like country, like most places are open to listening to live music. So I guess here it's not based on like a genre. It's more just based on live music. So typically, like, yeah, we have like a lot of live music available at like fairs and festivals and breweries and restaurants, but all of that stuff has just been like messed with.
And with like playing down south and stuff, and you obviously were in Nashville, have you noticed like differences between the states or the venues you've played like in different towns?
Yeah, I've noticed. So like, if I do play in like southern states, I feel like people respond to it differently, because I think that it reminds them of their childhood. Whereas people here, like, because in New England, like, country music again isn't as prominent, I feel like people connect with it, but not as deeply as in like down south.
That's really interesting. It's such a weird thing, and it goes back to obviously that countryside song you wrote, where it's like cowboys aren't the only ones who like mountain mornings and setting suns. And your song really hammers home the point that I think a lot of people either forget or miss, where country music isn't about a location. It's about like a perspective and an outlook on life that I think, because even in the UK, people kind of get confused as to be like, I'm going to be a country artist, but then they just kind of ape American cliches and they don't try and create something new. While in the UK, we still have like actual countryside and we still have that type of lifestyle, but it gets kind of convoluted or mixed up along the way.
Yeah, because I definitely think that, yeah, people assume that country music comes from the United States, like in Nashville and that. And it does. But at the same time, like, yeah, there's a lot more to it than that. And like you're saying, it doesn't just matter on a location. And I guess that's the biggest thing is for me, like people, when I lived in Nashville, everybody thought it was confusing that I sang country music because I am from New England and I do have an accent. And so that was one of the main reasons why I wanted to write a song like Countryside, is because like I think people need to remember that we're all connected. And I guess this time has made us realize that. But yeah, it's something that's easily forgotten. But yeah, we're all connected. We all can relate to these like states and states of mind. Like we've all experienced something that's made us feel like we're in the country, like even if you don't live in the country. And I just, again, like I'm just trying to figure out ways to bring people together in music, I guess.
Yeah, no, that's such a really important thing to do, and that's what music's meant to do, is meant to like, unite people and bring everyone together. And that's why I think a lot of the reason people are missing live shows is to have that like communal experience of like a shared experience. So it's just a really strange one, but the difference between states and things, have you noticed like trends happening at all, like from when you were in Nashville 6 years ago to now? Have you noticed how like country music has changed even in like the mainstream or anything?
In all honesty, I don't really listen to the radio that much anymore. Like I used to listen to it all the time, but like I kind of stopped. So I don't really know what the trends are right now down there. And like if I had, like I mean, I went to Nashville last year around this time, I think was the last time I was there to record the record. But I feel like the trend in that the industry is it's probably going more in that pop direction like it has been, but there are still artists like, again, Chris Stapleton, and I'm sure there's other artists out there in like more of the mainstream country scene that are like going back to their traditional roots. But yeah, I'm not really sure what the trends are. I've like right now, like I said, I've just been trying to focus on like, you know, figuring out how to be happy and be present and be like more of a whole person, I guess. So that's what I've been mainly putting a lot of my focus on. But yeah, I'm not sure about the trends right now, which is unfortunate. I guess I could listen to the radio more often, but we'll see what happens.
It can kind of be a chicken or egg thing when you listen to the radio, because it can be like, again, you'll kind of get into your own head of like, if this is popular, then should I be doing it? But then you lose your own voice. And it's always more important, I think, like John Prine said, to just blow up your TV and try and like stay away from everything.
Yeah, and that's what I think kind of worked out for me in a sense, like when I moved back to Rhode Island, because like I felt like before I left Nashville, I like kind of like I wrote that song 40 Miles from Memphis, and I like kind of knew what I wanted to like what my sound I wanted, you know, to put out to the world. But then like, yeah, leaving Nashville, because again, like all of that's right, very present there, like the trends and everything, but leaving that and just coming home and like doing what I want to do has helped me, I feel like tremendously. And I don't think that like the record that I put out or even the EP would have sounded the way it did if I hadn't left Nashville, because I think it's a great place to learn, but I don't know if it's a great place to stay. Because I think, again, you get oversaturated and you start to lose what your own values and what your own voice is saying.
No, that's really interesting. One of the kind of things I wanted to ask was, I was talking to a guy on this podcast a while back, and he's down in London, which is obviously the capital of England. And I was asking if it mattered being in London, because that's kind of like the hub of the creative things. Do you think that location like Nashville matters as much? Obviously you've moved away, but for those people who are wanting to learn and get an experience, do you think locations still matter in that way? And even when people move to LA for things, with, you know, technology being what it is now?
I think that it's like if you're starting out and you want to understand what you're getting into more, then I definitely think that you should live in Nashville or one of those large cities for a period of time. But I wouldn't go there as thinking that if I go to Nashville or I go to LA or I go to wherever, that's gonna make me, because I don't necessarily think that's gonna make you. I think it'll teach you something. It'll teach you a lesson you probably need to learn. But I don't think that like moving somewhere else is going to solve your problems or again like make you a big star. I think again like it's about about the journey.
Yeah.
But again, I would suggest that if you're a songwriter, to try to go to Nashville for a period of time to learn like more about songwriting, because you're like there's so many different writers that if you just go out to open mic nights and like watch and listen, you learn. So I definitely think that's important. And even like in LA, that scene, but like, yeah, then I think it's probably important to like have time away and to have time to digest that experience as well.
Oh, cool.
Because I feel like that's what ended up kind of happening to me. But again, I didn't decide this. Life pushed me to the places that I've went. Like I didn't just move home for that. I was pushed by life to go back home.
No.
So
yeah, no, that's really interesting. And with obviously you've like talking about like being introspective and trying to find your own happiness and stuff. Do you think being a songwriter and like the work you've been working on from your EPs to the new record has been helpful in you like contemplating yourself and almost analyzing your thought patterns?
yeah, definitely. It's definitely also like changed my perspective on writing songs and like what I want my messages to be, because I was writing songs before because I wanted to write songs that I thought that people liked or that people related to. But now I've been trying to write songs that like go even deeper. And like sometimes I feel like I'm able to do it in a good, like a fresh way. And sometimes it's just like, you know, how deep do you want to go type situation. So now it's also like just trying to figure out what I want to say. But yeah, it's all very introspective, again, even with writing the songs. And it's funny because I guess being a songwriter, you really study the culture. And this is kind of subconscious to me. Again, like when I was writing songs, I figured, oh, I should write songs because I want to be an artist. And I've noticed that artists that write their own songs are successful. So that was the reason why I initially started writing songs. And that's hilarious and like it's kind of crazy to say out loud. But then, yeah, like once I started writing songs, I realized how much I enjoyed it and how much it kind of sets your soul free when you write songs.
Is there any song in particular that you remember writing that kind of was that click or that spark that made you realize that?
It probably was like when I finally finished Countryside, I thought that was like an achievement because that was one of the first songs I ever wrote that wasn't about like heartbreak, but it was about life. And I always thought that writing songs about life were really hard. Because it's easy to write songs about heartbreak, but it's not easy to write songs about life. And so I guess that's the thing. So like this record has songs about life and heartbreak on it. And so didn't the EP, but then like I have even other songs now that I've been writing and I feel like all of them have been mainly about life. So it's just tricky because I want to continue to have that balance, you know? You still need heartbreak. But, you know, there is, you know, it's just, again, always about finding that balance.
Yeah, that's a really interesting thing. Like heartbreak is one of those things that's just a constant well that people can like pull from. Because I've seen people at open mics and stuff, and I've seen kids who are like 15, 16 get up and do like 3 songs about these horrendous relationships that ended badly. And I'm like, you're 16? How badly have you like... What relationships have you had that have like obviously I don't know their personal lives, but it's like to me like a 16-year-old to be singing 3 separate songs about like his heart being broken. I'm like, what the fuck happened to you, man? But
yeah,
those songs about life they're trickier to kind of grasp. But Countryside, how long did that take you to write? You said you'd had like...
It took me a while. Some of them are weird. Some of them like I write right away. It's like, oh, wrote that song. Wow. That was an experience. Others, you write them and it's like there's stuff still missing. It's still not right. Countryside, I had that idea for years. I showed it to people, nothing. Then like finally, like I had the verse melody come to me. So I like started writing the verses and then I could not come up with the chorus melody to save my life. And then one day, you know, I'm sure it comes to you, like I'm driving somewhere and it comes to me. And then finally I could finish that song. But yeah, I couldn't finish that song for a while because it was the first song that I really wrote by myself about life. And it was not, again, it was just different. It's a different process. It's a different, I guess it's a different view of your insides and of the world. Yeah. So again, I think it's easier for people to focus on like heartbreak, and because that's what, like, if you turn the TV on, there's a lot of like, I guess this movie's about life and there's movies about heartbreak, but I don't know. I guess that's the first time that you really witness your heart getting broken. So it's a really big deal for people. So probably that 16-year-old kid, he never really had his heart broken. The poor kid got his heart broke. Damn. Wrote a lot of sad songs, you know? But yeah, I mean, it's just, all of it's just very interesting. It really is. It's crazy. It's crazy how the mind works. It's crazy how life is. And that's the thing. I think, like, trying to realize that everything is okay the way it is, and that you don't need to be perfect, and that life doesn't need to be perfect for you to be happy, is probably, like, these realizations are what lead to a more fuller life. And again, like, saying all this stuff is easy to say, but doing it is a completely different story, because I found in myself that I have these epiphanies and I feel like I'm doing good, and then all of a sudden I hit a pothole and everything changes. So it's like, yeah, I think it's just about practicing what you preach and trying to, like, remember what's important to you, because it's very easy to forget. And that's what I've been finding a lot out as well.
Like, it's weird. I think it definitely is, like, musicians, because obviously you want to write honestly as much as possible, but you also want people to like it. So it's always that fine line of this, where do I become this honest and this vulnerable, but also give it enough of a melody or a popular sense that people will like it. And those kind of things where you have to, like, trade in and out can be really, like, not necessarily damaging, but they can start, like, making you second guess yourself when you start writing songs.
I don't know about you, but I have periods where I write songs. So, like, lately I haven't been writing anything, but, like, I usually always have periods where I'll write, like, a bunch of songs, and then I'll have, like, lulls. And then I write a bunch of songs, and then I have lulls. And I don't know if that's how it is for you.
Yeah, it comes in, like, peaks and valleys. For me, like, I'm in a valley at the moment. I haven't written anything new at the moment. I've got 2 verses of a song that I'm kind of strumming around at the moment, but it's also, I'm kind of trying to be in the mindset where it's okay to be in that lull, because if you start overthinking it, you start just like it's almost like a performance anxiety where nothing will come out then, no matter how hard you try.
Yeah. And that's kind of like, I'm like balancing that line right now, because, like, in the back of my mind, I get that thought, you haven't wrote a song in a while, but it's also, like you said, I don't want to, like, force something and make it, like, traumatize myself. So I'm trying to just, I have a bunch of ideas, and like you said, I have songs started that I need to tweak, but, like, I pick them up, I try to polish them. If it works out, cool. If it doesn't, put it back down, because I don't, like, the other thing, I don't know if you do the same thing, but if I have an idea that I really like, I'll write a song, and if I don't like it, I'll just throw the song away, but I keep the idea, and I keep rewriting that idea until I get it the way I want it to be.
Yeah, there's lots of different, I've got a few songs where I, like, the verse or, like, the chorus has, like, one line that was in an old song that I'd thrown away, and there's lots of stuff that you realize there's something there, but it's not in that particular sense. And I've written a load of lines, and you just, like, you're trying to get, like, a square peg in a round hole for so long, and then for the time being, you just, like, fuck it, that'll do. And then maybe 2 months or 3 years down the line, you go, oh shit, it fits in this, and you'll scrap that old thing, and it just comes together weirdly in a different way.
Yeah, it's crazy. How things just end up working out. It's really strange.
Yeah, but with the new record, how did you come about writing that? Was that written a lot during last year, during the, like, pandemic and stuff, or was it, like, pre that where you had, like, the first ideas kicking around?
Yeah, so this was, like, pre-pandemic. So we went in and recorded the record in January, so last January.
Awesome.
So it was done. So we got all the recording and everything done. So then it was just, like, the mixing and mastering process that happened during the pandemic, which was also very interesting, because that's another, I'm sure you've had that experience when doing that too, you get in your head. So yeah.
Oh,
that was fun.
Like, when you get the raw files, Like, I haven't listened to my album since it came out in August because I listened to it so much on the mixing, mastering stages that I can't bear it. But then I feel bad that I'm kind of promoting this record to people that I haven't listened to really since then. But it's like,
Yeah.
I stand by everything that happened in it, but it's just
Yep.
at the moment I need to take a break from actually listening.
Yeah.
to it.
Yeah. I had that same thing happen to me. I haven't put the record out yet, so this is cool. But I mean, so okay, I had this period where I was really excited. Then I had a period where I hated it. Then I had a period where not hated it, but I didn't like the way how originally came out mastered because my vocals ended up being too loud. So then I had luckily my friend, Ben, he was like one of the producers on it, but Ben went back with me, and I had Brian, who was also an assistant producer on it. We just worked through it together and went back and fixed that. But until that was fixed, I wasn't happy. So luckily I'm happy that got fixed, and now I can actually enjoy it again.
Yeah.
So I'm happy you didn't experience that, because that was a weird one. And then it's also you're in your head, and it's like a decibel. It's like little decibels, but it makes a big difference. You don't think it does, but it really does. And that was just a very, very interesting process. But now, like I said, I can listen to the record, and I'm I don't know. It always makes me feel good inside when I listen to it. So I guess that's a positive thing.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to being able to put it on. But I remember the first mix I got of my record, it was just so in the wrong direction that it made me question everything I'd ever written. And was have you ever seen Metalocalypse, the cartoon about?
No.
So
I'll have to watch this.
There's a cartoon about this death metal band called Death Clock, and they're the biggest band in the world in this cartoon, and they haven't put a record out for years, to the point where there's riots and people are burning down stores and stuff, and they'll record the album, and the singer will go, "It's not good enough," and delete the whole thing. And it happens throughout the entire series. They don't put out this album because they record it in a submarine, they record it in a volcano, anywhere they can try and do it to make it sound brutal. And every time he deletes it, and I used to laugh at it, and then I did an album, and I was I 100% get why you just hit the delete button on the first playthrough, but it has to breathe, and records have this weird second life after you've put them out, because obviously you write them, you play them live, which gives it its own depth, and then you record it, and there's these 3 versions of the song floating around that you try to pin down.
Yeah. And then I don't know if this is how you feel, but when I went to do the record last year, I had this list of songs, and some of them I felt I knew were good songs, but some of them I felt I'm does this song suck? I have no idea if half of these songs suck, but I guess I'm just going to record them and hope they come out good. But luckily, again, they all came out the way that, they came out better than I hoped they'd come out, which was very shocking too, because again, you go into the studio and usually that doesn't happen. But I was really surprised. Everything happens, it kind of fell into place. And again, the only roadblock I hit was towards the end with mastering, but that was fun. Luckily,
Oh, that's really good. I cut 2 from the album that I did. I recorded 11. I only put 9 out. But with, obviously, you had your first EP in 2015, and then your second EP was 2018. Have they taken on lives of themselves since you've put them out? Have you looked back retrospectively on them much?
Before I recorded the record, I would look back on the EP, but I haven't looked back on that original EP in a long time, because it seems like you just turn the page. I know it's kind of sad to say, but you turn the page on certain things. So I'm happy that I got to do that first, just acoustic EP. That was a big first step for me. But yeah, obviously the latest EP, I feel shows growth. And I feel so does this record. And I'm sure that you've experienced that. Every time you go into the studio, you learn something and you get better.
Yeah.
And so I think that's why this record ended up working out better than the EP, because I ended up working with similar people, and we all learn from our mistakes, and you just keep trying to get better. And yeah, usually you end up getting better. So that's interesting.
Yeah, awesome. And with this new record, is it a full length? Because was it 5 or 6 tracks on your EP?
Yeah, it was. Yep, 5 for the EP. For this one, we did 12 songs.
Oh, awesome.
But some of them, a couple of the songs were actually recorded on that first EP, the one with just the guitar and vocal. When I put out this record, I wanted to make sure that 40 Miles from Memphis and that Daddy song was included on it, because I felt like those were very good songs that I've had in my own little personal catalog for a long time. And I felt like just putting out a guitar vocal didn't do them justice. So I included those two on the CD or the record. But yeah, like that was really interesting, because the way 40 Miles from Memphis came out was like crazy. Because again, I'm used to, like you're saying, you have all these different versions of the same song. Like I've heard these songs so many different ways, and then to like go into the studio for the record and do it, and it actually comes out like way better than you ever thought it would come out. It was like, this is crazy. Because yeah, like now I feel like 40 Miles from Memphis is one of my favorite songs again. But for a while it kind of took a back seat because I had newer songs that were like my favorite. But yeah, and I don't know if this is how you feel, but like I also kind of feel like when you write certain songs and they're close to your heart, that they kind of are like your kids.
Yeah.
So it's weird because like you get to see how they grew up. Like, holy shit, that song grew up like that. Wow. Yeah. You know?
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think like when you start doing like gigs and stuff, and then you'll like go from doing like your own like solo shows, which can be like 2+ hours, then you get a support slot where it's 30 minutes and you realize you have to cut one of like those songs, and it is like leaving one of your kids behind. It's like, I really want to fucking play that song, but I don't think it'll fit in this environment or this show. So it's like trying to keep those songs close, but also knowing when's the time to like play them or have them out is also like a weird one. Yeah,
it is weird. Sometimes I just play the songs I want to play anyway, but then again, you know how it is, because you got to go by what the crowd wants, or you're getting a mutiny. Oh God.
Yeah. But with I think the first song I heard of yours was Countryside, and the second was Rhinestones, which has like a really strong kind of like message and almost a call to arms, where it's like, what is country, and that perception of people who are kind of not posing, but they're battling that image versus substance. Was that something that you really like sat down to try and plan out, and what was the reaction to that song when you've played it live?
So I guess like being, again, like going out there and playing your songs, you meet all sorts of people, and kind of like what you realize is that a lot of people haven't taken the time to find their own voice and haven't taken the time to like figure out what they actually want their message to be. So they're just going along and they're like just trying to ride the wave, like trying to, you know, like be like everybody else. And basically that's what I wanted. One of the reasons why I wanted to write Rhinestones was because I think it's cool to like be yourself and to stop, like not try to pretend, you know, you're someone else. I think that we've all went through that phase in our life, like, you know, our childhood, you have to discover who you are. But when you become an adult, I feel like it's better to just focus on who you really are and like let go of trying to be someone else again, because the trying to be someone else just creates more and more suffering for you.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of like, again, like where that song, where Rhinestones came from, was that from that place of, and at the time maybe it was like I was a little angry. Because I felt like so many people were not being true to themselves. But now I look at it as like kind of like it's a sad thing to not be who you are. But I think that's important. I think that's an important thing in life, is to trying to figure out who you really are instead of settling for less.
And with that anger, do you think that maybe, or was it ever aimed at like you from like the audience or when you were playing? Because obviously you're a country singer from Rhode Island. That's not necessarily, you know, where people assume country music's from, and you obviously wear a Stetson and things. Did you have that kind of conversation with people where they were trying to, do you know, like when people wear a metal band t-shirt and then says, name 5 songs from them?
Yeah, I got, people would bust my balls. I remember I was like, I was in like South Carolina playing at some bar, and some guy was like busting my balls about how like I was wearing a hat and how I was like singing country music and like whatever, I have an accent and busting my balls. And I went up and I sang Rhinestones and it felt good. But yeah, it's like that's where all this stuff comes from, is life experiences, you know? But yeah, I mean, it's also, again, it's weird because I am like from New England and I'm a little kind of like an outsider in a sense, but then again, I'm not an outsider, you know, because we're here.
Yeah.
If we're here, we're not where we belong here for a reason. We're here for a reason. So, but yeah, it's just, it's interesting again, like, cause when I play Rhinestones live, like my sister loves Rhinestones. So if she comes to a show and I play Rhinestones, she's like screams, hoots and hollers. But a lot of people like that song because I guess, again, people can relate to it. People can inwardly relate to it. They can recognize it in others.
No, it's such like, and that's what I really enjoy about your songwriting is there's like a wit and a nuance to it that you really understand, especially with like Countrysides and Rhinestone and even like Rodeo, where you know the kind of perspective you're coming from, and it applies to so many people, either from like one side of the fence or the other.
Yeah, I think what I'm really just doing is I'm really just writing a song from my perspective. But the thing is that we all have similar perspectives. They may be different, but at the truth of them, they're all pretty much the same. And again, that's the thing that I've been like continuously trying to work on in myself, because I notice like inwardly, there's like this part of me that wants to always separate myself from the group and always be separate. But then in the big picture, I'm not separate. I'm one with whatever, one with everything. And so, yeah, when writing, it's like, I'm not thinking of that when I'm writing the song. I'm not thinking of like all these different people's perspectives and how they're going to relate to mine. I'm just trying to paint my perspective in a way that's inviting and in a way that I guess draws people in. And like, that's the thing about songwriting is you need the hook. Yeah. And it's weird because it's like that the hook, it has so many different like ways of looking at that in a sense. But yeah, like, again, it's just meant to draw people in, but I'm trying to draw people into a message that we can all relate to.
Yeah, no, definitely. I remember there was a phrase that stuck with me since like high school. And I can't remember who told me it, but it was, you are unique just like everybody else.
That's cool.
And it was that kind of juxtaposition where you're always striving for your own identity, but no one ever really strays that far from the head.
Yeah, it's weird. And it's also weird because we're all like, again, like we're all so similar, but we're all so different. And that's what's so cool. And that's the other thing, like, I don't know, I've also started looking at like people as just characters and like how it's like how like not being able to meet people all the time and like coming into contact with new people all the time is something that I definitely took for granted. But it's like I miss being out into the world and like meeting more characters because now I feel like I haven't been able to meet as many characters. Like luckily, like I'm working, so I get to meet characters at work. But it's just like fun. And I think that's like another part of life is like, you're going to like who you meet, there's not another person like them. Like your mind might tell you that there is, but there isn't. That person is unique. You'll never meet another person like them. And so that's the thing. It's like, if you just start to change your perspective, like it does make life more exciting. So that's what I've, like, again, like, I guess I do subconsciously when writing songs, but yeah, it's like something I've been trying to work on now consciously. So it's all very interesting.
Yeah, no, it really is. And I think, I don't know necessarily if like songwriters have an extra insight or it's just because you kind of use that muscle a bit more where you do have a thought and you go, well, why did I just think that? And then you kind of like pull the thought down and you're like, what led to this? And you start connecting it also. I don't know if songwriters or maybe, poets or whatever, they pull down these thoughts and concepts or picking them apart. Yeah,
that's very interesting because I find myself doing that a lot. like I'll be all of a sudden I'll be doing something, like you know how it works, you'll be like making breakfast and then you're like thinking about high school, and it's then but like I do what you do, all of a sudden I'm like, why am I thinking about high school? And then I go back and I trace what triggered that thought. But like you're saying, maybe that is like what makes songwriters, because we're taking a second to pause and see where that thought actually came from. And then like it just makes you, I think that if you're a songwriter, like you really do like feel things and you really do look at things. Maybe you're just paying a little more attention than others are. But I guess like, yeah, if you're able to write songs, usually you're just like feeling emotions maybe a little bit, you're going into them and you're looking at things a little bit more than, again, like the most people would. But that was a really cool like thing that you said. That was cool. I never thought of that like that before.
I just occasionally I like catch myself thinking about stupid shit, and I like, my girlfriend's always like, what are you laughing at? And I'll like, the last one I had was we were like nodding off in bed, and I think I figured out where the term bee's knees comes from. Because I was just pulling it apart in my head to be like, where the fuck did that phrase, the bee's knees, come from? And I was like, did someone say business wrong and then expand it?
Wow. Yeah, that's always interesting too. Jeez.
Yeah, but again, it's when you start pulling apart them thoughts and stuff, it makes stuff like, it's interesting and it's fun, but it's also good for like reflection and stuff, to be like, what am I thinking? And then you tune into your personality a bit more to be like, well, why did I think that? It's because of X.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's just, again, about looking at things more deeply is what it seems to be. And like, yeah, trying to figure it out. Cause I have to stop myself with analyzing things, because I analyze things like to the death. And it's like, I've been trying to like put a pause on that, because it just, you can go down into the rabbit hole.
Yeah. And with kind of like analyzing and lyrics and things, are there any, like, obviously Rhode Island's like Lovecraft and stuff, are there any like literary influences on you, or any poets that like really resonate with you, or you've come across that have influenced your work outside of, you know, musical or music, like lyricists?
Honestly, the only thing that I really do in my spare time is like, sometimes when if I read books randomly, like I find that whatever book I'm reading will influence like something that I'm writing, but even more on like, if I watched a movie, or I watched like a documentary, or I watched like a show that made me feel something inside, like maybe inspired me or something, then that's where I can draw some creativity from. But I haven't spent a lot of time reading poetry probably since like high school. So I don't know if that's, maybe I could start doing that again. But yeah, honestly, I've just been trying to focus on like being like in nature more, and then just trying to spend time like meditating. And like, so when I'm like driving to work, like I said, I kind of took away listening to, I know this is like sad, but it's been helping me. Like I've taken away listening to music driving to work and like from work, and I've just replaced it with listening to like positive podcasts, like podcasts that I think are like feeding my mind and soul with wisdom. Just because I feel like if I don't do that, I end up like falling asleep again, or I just get like distracted by like unnecessary things. So like, I think for this period in my life, like that's what I've been really focusing on. But during the time of the state of when like all those songs were written for this last record, again, it was basically based on like anything that I come in contact in terms of like probably television, and then again like reading and experiences. But that's the other thing too, like since I haven't been playing live that much, I feel like that's also been a reason why I haven't like had so many stories to tell.
Yeah,
because it's like usually playing live, you know, it's like, dude, it's fun, and you get sick. That's the thing, I was getting burnt out, and I like looking back, I was like burnt out and stuff, but it's like I don't want to take it for granted again when it comes back.
Yeah, no, definitely. And it's one of those things where it is, you kind of forget that the interactions with people is kind of like the fuel, but it's also, without the reason to play live, you kind of forget like there's no agency to write a song, because
Yeah.
it's not like you can put it online and you can like live stream it, but it's not the same immediacy of like, I've just written this new song, I'm gonna go out and play it live. So
Yeah.
that like motivation's been like knocked out for like the next like year or so.
Yeah, it's just been shitty. And then again, like not meeting like new people and not like because that's the other thing I've noticed. It's like when you're playing live all the time, you're pushing yourself, you're facing your fears, you're overcoming them, and they don't meet, like, it doesn't have as much control over you. But when you're like not doing that, when you're not pushing yourself, because like we push ourselves in a different way now, but it's like I miss facing my fear and like going on stage even when I'm nervous, like
Yeah.
It's funny that I said that I miss it, but I really do, because it just gets, I feel like I feel like you start to get stale, and it's like I just want to keep growing,
Yeah.
So
Yeah, no, definitely. I did a live show December 18th, and that was the last show I played. And before that, it was like October, and that's going from like, I think I did I think I may have done just under 20 shows in 2020.
Yeah.
Going from like, well more in the previous years, and it's that stale is like a fear that even if you're live streaming and stuff, that nervousness of getting up in front of a crowd of people is something that you really need as a songwriter and an artist to just kind of like keep it sharp and keep everything.
Yeah.
Raps.
Yep. Yeah, that's what because then also like I'm afraid, like I need to practice, and I haven't been practicing as much as I would have. And I feel like you're saying, like, I am afraid to get on stage again, but I'm going to make myself do it. But I got to play like this summer, but yeah, it was like the other thing too, like about it is when you're playing all the time, that fear that comes up, you're used to it. So it doesn't really affect you. But like when you haven't played in a long time, that fear that usually you just like, oh, here you are. You're like, holy shit, you're here. And it's like more intense and more intimidating. So yeah, I guess we'll all have to face that when the time comes, but I'm hoping that we can play live sometime in the spring. I'm not really into the live shows online. Like I always have issues with like it coming through right. People can't hear this, people can't hear that. So it's just been like, I haven't really done it like at all. I'm just not super into it.
Yeah, I've done a couple of writers rounds, which were weird for like some UK country groups. And I've done a live stream for like my 3-month anniversary of my record. I'm doing one for my 6th month in February, but I'm trying to keep it few and far between because you can't make it any more exciting than a live show. So it's trying to capture those things. I remember the first live stream I did when lockdown happened was my girlfriend, she collects a load of like horror figures. So we've got life-size Chucky dolls around the house.
Oh, that's cool.
So I made an audience of all the different like teddies and Chucky figures and stuff, and I made that. So that was like I did have an audience to play with, and it was just something for me that was like interesting to do. But there's only so many times you can perform with Chucky staring you dead in the eyes.
Yeah. That's cool though. That's a really cool idea. But yeah, it's just not the same. Like you don't get that like rush. You don't feel like that excitement. Even like practicing by yourself, I've noticed like if I practice with like someone else, it feels better. It feels like more alive.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm sure like all of this, I know like it's shitty and it sucks, but I feel like it's all going to make us better and stronger, and it's going to help wake us all up. And I think that like, yeah, like last night I watched freaking Social Dilemma, which was weird, but at the same time, it's like, we can figure all this out. And I don't feel like, like there's no hope. Like, I think that again, like suffering and going through hard times, I'm sure that you can relate to this. It's always made me better and stronger, even though I bitch and complain about it. Trying to get rid of that, but
Yeah, that's the thing. And I think there's a lot of, principles where satisfaction and contentment are kind of the enemy of the human condition, because you do want to be striving and you do want to get better. And if you do have a passion or a dream, achieving it is probably the worst thing you could ever do for that dream. To have adversity and people trying to slam a door in your face is always going to keep you pushed and getting better. When you finally achieve or get close enough to that goal, it's well earned and you have the talent or skill to be able to back it up for when you do eventually succeed in whatever those succeed parameters are.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Because yeah, if it's not for, like you're saying, if like you don't have to recreate yourself or make the effort to get better, like yeah, you just don't, you stay stale. But I feel like this time, like again, we haven't been able to play live, but I like I was saying, I feel like a lot of people have been having to like look more inwardly. But I do like believe that if you can work on healing like your inner relationship with yourself, that it does affect like your world. So I think that's what a lot of people have been doing, and I think that it's pretty cool that we're all like forced to do it in a sense.
Yeah, I think there's been a lot of like self-reflection and things, and I think one of the good things, especially in terms of like a political sense or a global sense, is a lot of people are realizing that a lot of people aren't serving their best in like intentions, whether it's through like work or politics or whatever. And a lot of people, especially like the younger generations, are realizing like we don't actually deserve this, we deserve better. And people are starting to like push for it more. And that's coming from a place of, you know, reflection and realizing nothing has to be stale or set in stone.
Yeah. And I think that's really like cool, actually, you know, it's cool that we can like reflect and make changes.
No, definitely. But we're coming up to the hour mark, and I don't want to keep it too long for the rest of your day. But you have the record coming out May 7th, was it? And a single in February. Was it the same like musicians from your previous EP that are on this record as well? And are they your backing band when you eventually get to tour and stuff?
I don't know what the heck's gonna happen with my backing band. In the perfect world, I'd love to have these guys be my backing band. But I did change some of the musicians around for the record. I stuck with the same drummer, John. I really like enjoyed working with him, and I thought he was like, I don't know, he like blew me away. So I just like reached out to him and asked for his recommendations, and so he just gave me some people to reach out to. And like I was just, they were just local players in Nashville. I believe that some of them tour with like popular musicians. But it was great working with them. And that's the thing, like when we go into the studio, and I worked with a producer this time too. So I worked with a local musician. His name's Tyler James Kelly. And he was like the main producer on the record. And he like sat down with us before we went to the studio, me and Brian, because we usually just play together for shows. And we like would just sit down like every Monday for like a couple of months, and we would just like polish the songs and work on them. And went into the studio with like being well practiced with that aspect and having more of a direction. So doing that really, really helped compared to like when I did the EP, like we didn't take that much time with the songs and like look at them and like change them around. So we did that. And then, going in the studio, we stuck with John, and we got a couple other musicians. I just don't know their last names, but the bass player, Alec Newman, but he's played bass. And then Eddie, I think his last name's Lang, but he played steel guitar, and he's like ridiculous. And then Micah, I don't know his last name, but I think he plays with Margot Price sometimes, but he played like keys, and so that came out really good. And then we have this friend, his name's Josh. He played percussion. And then Tyler played acoustic guitar, and he played a little bit of electric. But then Brian McKinnon, he usually plays with me. He played electric. But it was cool. And again, like just getting people in a group and in a room, and just letting them do what they do best is basically like the whole how like we approach.
So that's music. Like because obviously you have like your voice and guitar, and then do you take it to the guys and they start adding things, like, so you don't have a set idea really for like a melody from a certain instrument or like anything that goes in addition, and it's just
so how like what we do is, so for some of the songs it'll be like that. So like before we get into the studio, I'll send them like, I'll have the structure of the song down, and I'll send them like just a guitar vocal of me singing it and send it to them, so then they can like write their own charts if they want. I'll have my own charts ready, but usually they like to write their own charts. And then the way that we record it is we usually do bass, drums, and acoustic guitar, and I'll do a scratch vocal. That way we get the rhythm section down. And then we'll have like the more elaborate people come in and do their stuff another day. So we'll focus on getting like the foundation of the tracks first, and then we go from there. But yeah, it ends up working out because, again, like if you get musicians that know each other and are familiar with playing with each other, it sounds like they've been playing with each other forever because they're used to playing with each other. So that's why, like, I feel like if you just get a group of guys that are talented in a room together, it ends up working out. And again, we had some direction, like certain tracks, we had licks already like charted out for those songs, but then other tracks we didn't. So we would take, you know, like advice from other musicians. If they said, oh, I have this idea, we would, you know, go with that, or maybe, you know, we try something different. But again, I just think being open in the studio is really important. And I'm sure you can relate to that too.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. No, I'm so hyped to listen to you. I'm a massive fan of what you've put out before. Then have you toured the UK or Europe before? Have you headed over here?
No, I wanted to, but then I wanted to, and I tried to like find a promoter, and I couldn't at the time. So then I was like, you know what, I'm just going to suck it up, play my butt off in New England, try to save as much money, because at the time I was working on saving money for the record, and ended up doing that. But yeah, I'm hoping I can come visit you guys, because I think it would be a fun time.
Yeah, amazing. Well, I really hope that you get over here. I can't wait for your record to come out. I'll let you go for the rest of the day, but I love this talk. Thank you so much for being on and stuff, and I'll let you go for the rest of the day.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Mike. I really appreciate it. So thank you.
Oh, thank you so much.
And there we have it, guys. That's episode 24 of Into the Van, Into the Bag. Now, if my maths is right, you know, it's 2 episodes a month, 24. So that's, we did a year of podcasts, but my podcast started in March. So I think the next podcast will be the year anniversary. I'm not too sure, but, you know, 24 podcasts is fucking brilliant. Thank you so much for sticking by me for all this. I really hope you've enjoyed the guests. I know I have, because I do this for me. At the end of the day, everything I do, you know, music, comics, podcasting, whatever, if I don't enjoy it, I won't do it. And that is a stubborn, you know, detriment to me sometimes, where it's just, I will chop my nose off to spite my face. And sometimes it's a really good thing, because I know that whatever I do, or I do put my mind to, and I really give a shit about, you know, I really give a shit about it, so I'll put my all into it. I always find the fun in it. And having people like Charlie Marie on to have these deep conversations about, you know, life and your outlooks and perspectives, and then turn it into songwriting and music, is a really fun talk. And it's something that really, you know, brightens my day, gives me something to think about, and it, you know, it makes me, you know, more perceptive to things. It makes me a better person to have these conversations with different people. And these 24 guests I've had on have been so fucking good, and they've taught me so much, and I'm really glad you're along for the ride. So until next time, guys, stay safe. Peace.